All right. So for a few months now, we have been talking about how, unfortunately, despite there being no default brain, there are a lot of defaults in our society, right? Like defaults of like, oh, this is how healthcare is delivered. This is what it means to like be an adult. This is what it means to be a worker. This is what it means to be a student. Anyway, and that's not true because in fact we all have different brains that do things differently. And what we don't want is we don't want to be in a situation where we are hammering to try to get that square peg to fit into the round hole. And like what happens, you destroy the peg. And that is what happens to so many people. So how this connects to access needs are that we all have access needs. Access needs are anything that is required to meaningfully participate in one's environment or community. And as I said, we all have them. This might be physical access needs, emotional, communication, so all different types of access needs. And so often we get the message that if we have needs, we are in some way needy. And explicitly or implicitly, sometimes, often, people get the message that we shouldn't have needs, that it's selfish to have needs. Like, that's not a thing. That's a myth. And that is really hard because when we think about full participation in our world, in our lives, the social model of disability is about the barriers in the environment between the person and full participation. And it's not about there being something wrong with the individual. It's about those barriers being in place. And so we want to have as few barriers to full participation as possible. And when we think about how this plays out in interpersonal relationships, I'm going to play a little. I'm going to throw in a little excerpt from a brain club we did in January called "Everyone Flips Their Leg," where there's things that make us stress that are going to differ person to person and like context specific. Like if there's something in the physical environment, like a loud sound. If I'm like well hydrated and well rested, I might not be as stressed as if I'm, haven't done those things or have like a huge cognitive load or whatever, like with this business of the Zoom and the link and the whatever and all the switching between things. If a motorcycle drives by my house right now, I'm going to flip my lid. Whereas like I might have been okay a couple hours ago. So when we get triggered, and borrowing from a model from Dr. Dan Siegel, Dr. Tina Payne Bryson from the Whole Brain Child, upstairs brain and downstairs brain. When downstairs brain gets triggered, we don't get to pick what triggers us. And sometimes we forget that we have interpersonal access needs. It's not just about sensory processing or like how we learn. It's about access needs in a relationship. What does it mean for downstairs brain to feel safe? And so when we think about, since we all have access needs, often those access needs conflict with other people. And I might play this clip. I might just come back to it. Well,